The first time Amira was left, she was only 4 days old. A social worker found her swaddled in a plastic shopping bag beside a dumpster behind an apartment block in downtown Cincinnati. No note. No name. Just a whimper muffled by the crumpled folds of her blanket. The headlines ran briefly: "Infant abandoned behind building, police seek mother." But the story disappeared in a week, like so many others.
She was given a name by the hospital nurse who first bathed her, Amira, meaning princess in Arabic. No one knew her heritage for sure. The guess came from her brown skin, thick black hair, and the blanket she had been wrapped in, a faded paisley design popular in Middle Eastern textiles. She was placed into emergency foster care, and from then on, Amira was no one's girl. By the time she turned 6, Amira had moved through 11 foster homes. Most didn't want her past a few weeks. "She's too quiet," one couple said. "She's weird. Doesn't smile," another added. One woman claimed Amira was defective, like a broken toy from a thrift store. A man once slapped her for not answering fast enough when asked what she wanted for dinner.
Amira didn't complain. She never cried, not even when the other children bullied her at school, calling her dumpster baby or trash girl. She learned to keep her voice small and her presence smaller, like a shadow that dared not cast itself. In every home, she carried the same cardboard shoebox. Inside, her hospital bracelet, a single photo of the nurse who named her, and a scrap of the brown-colored paisley blanket, cut carefully with safety scissors from the original before it was thrown away by someone who thought it smelled.
When she turned 8, she was sent to live with the Renleys, an older couple with a passion for charity work and good optics. They liked taking photos with their foster kids for church newsletters, making sure their generosity was seen. But behind closed doors, kindness ran thin. "We feed you, don't we, Mr. Renley?" would bark when she asked for more cereal. Mrs. Renley never looked her in the eye. "Be useful, or be gone," she'd say when assigning chores. They called her that girl instead of her name. When she broke a glass by accident, she was locked in the closet overnight. When she wet the bed one night, they told the caseworker she was unstable and couldn't stay.
Amira was 10 when she was removed. She didn't cry. She just packed her box. Some children are loud in their trauma. Amira became invisible. She stopped making friends at school. She didn't answer when called in class. Teachers marked her as difficult or withdrawn. At foster homes, she took up little space. She cleaned without being asked, ate quietly, and waited for the next door to open and close behind her.
Her file grew fatter every year. Behavioral notes: withdrawn, unresponsive, emotionally distant. Placement challenges: history of multiple disruptions, no kinship connections. Adoption probability, low.
By age 12, no one called her Amira anymore. She was case number 3489.
She eventually ended up at Sunrise House, a group home for hard-to-place children. A place full of kids like her, wounded, forgotten, no longer cute enough to appeal to adoptive families.
Sunrise was sterile and grey. Linoleum floors. Cheap twin beds. Staff who rotated every few months and called you by your last name. Amira James. She got a roommate named Sierra who had run away twice before. Sierra was loud, wild-eyed, always picking fights. At first, she teased Amira, called her a robot.
But one night, Sierra noticed the showbox. "What's in that?" she asked. "Stuff," Amira said.
Sierra opened it anyway. She saw the hospital bracelet, the blanket piece, and the photo. "This is all you have?" Amira didn't answer. Sierra was quiet for a moment, then said, "You're not a robot. You're just hiding." That was the closest anyone had come to understanding her. One day, a woman came to the group home for a volunteer project. Her name was Ms. Keane, a therapist who offered art sessions for kids with nowhere else to go. She brought paints and sketchbooks and told them to draw what's inside you. Amira didn't want to. But that night, she took a pencil and sketched something on notebook paper. A little girl sitting in a trash bag, looking up at the stars. The next day, she handed it to Miss Keene silently. Miss Keene looked at it for a long time. "You think you belong in the trash?" she asked. Amira shrugged. "You know what I see," Miss Keene said. "A survivor. A girl who kept her eyes on the stars even when everyone else threw her away." No one had ever said something like that to her. Amira cried that night. Quietly. The way she'd always done everything.
At 13, she was sent to a new school. It was rough, overcrowded, full of kids with similar stories. No one noticed Amira except one teacher, Mr. Callahan.
He was tall, wore flannel shirts, and always had coffee breath. But he was patient. He never pushed, just waited. One day he found her doodling in the margins of her math test.
"You draw?" Amira nodded. "Ever think about illustrating stories?" She shook her head. "Want to try?" She hesitated. Then nodded again.
For the next few weeks, he gave her short stories with no pictures and asked her to draw what she saw. She brought characters to life: lonely wolves, abandoned castles, forgotten toys.
"I think you've got a voice," he told her. "Even if it's not with words." Amira started drawing every night.
But people didn't change just because you did. At 15, her roommate Sierra got kicked out for hitting a staff member. Another girl in the home stole Amira's sketchbook and tore out the pages. "You think you're special?" the girl snapped. "You're not. Nobody wants us." And Amira almost believed it again. But Miss Keene came back, and Mr. Callahan kept giving her new stories. One day, he handed her a form for an art summer program in another city. "I think you should apply." "I can't afford it," she said. "I already talked to the director. They'll waive the fee. You just need to say yes." She almost didn't. But something deep inside, the part that had survived the dumpster, the Renleys, the cold stares, and the torn sketches, said yes. That summer changed everything. The program was small, full of quiet kids who preferred pencil to conversation. For the first time, Amira didn't feel like a freak. Her art teacher, Ms. Lorna, pulled her aside on the second day. "You've got real talent, you know. Have you ever thought about illustrating children's books?" Amira blinked. "No one wants me to do that," she said. "Then do it for yourself." She spent the summer creating a story of her own. About a girl left in the trash who found a friend in a crow, and together they built a home out of discarded things. She called it The Nest. By the time she returned to Sunrise House, everything felt different. The home was the same. The people were the same. But she was different. She kept drawing. She saved up to buy her own pens and journals. When staff asked her what she wanted to do with her life, she said, "I want to make books for kids like me." They didn't laugh. When she turned 16, Miss Keene helped her submit The Nest to a youth creative arts contest. She won second place. A small publisher noticed her story. They sent her a letter saying, "We'd love to work with you." It felt like a window had opened. She opens a package to find The Nest in hardcover, hugging it to her chest. At 18, she aged out of the system. She left with a backpack, her shoebox, and a folder full of drawings. No foster home, no adoption, no forever family. But she had a voice. And she had stories. Amira moves into her first apartment, small and sparse but hers alone. She pins her illustrations on the walls, turning the room into a blooming creative space. At 23, Amira James was a published author and illustrator. Her books featured children who came from pain but found power. Kids left behind who built worlds out of what others discarded. One of her books, No One's Girl, became a quiet hit in libraries and schools. It told the story of a girl with no name, no home, and no family, but a girl who refused to stop drawing her own future. When asked in interviews who inspired her, Amira would say, "All the kids like me. The ones people forget. the ones they say are unwanted. She never found her birth parents, but one day, at a book signing, a teenage girl with a group home bracelet came up to her. She held no one's girl in both hands. Library visit. She finds her own book on the shelf, gently touches the spine with awe. Bird's eye view of her walking down the street, camera rising as she becomes smaller, but more free. Recurring visual motif of stars through windows, symbolizing hope.